actually to the cartwheel here, and we're going to take off their yoke. This yoke is their harness. It's just a 40-pound wooden harness. That's all it is. Really cheap and easy to make. And we're going to unhook them, and you guys can actually come up, and when the yoke's off, it means they're not working. So that's an opportunity for you guys to actually pet them. We don't pet them while they're working. And I'll continue to work. We're going to actually today split some fence rails here that they hauled out of the woods, some locusts. So let's get their yoke off here. Come on. Now the way we drive them, so before I take the yoke off, let me tell you about how we drive these guys. So immediately once they are basically able to stand up straight, you put them into a yoke once you've chosen your team. And then you start teaching them how to get up, how to walk, how to back up, and how to turn. And it's really simple. We use 3 techniques. 1 is our body position, 2 is our vocal commands, and 3 is the goad position and where we touch them. With the goad, this is just an extension of my hand. It's a way for me to tap them where I want them to. It's not a way to beat them. Even if I hit these guys as hard as I could, it wouldn't hurt them. Their coat is as thick as the soles of my shoes. They're wearing big leather jackets. So to get these guys walking, you just tap them on the back. Mick and Mack, get up, get up, get up. Whoa is stop. Back is back, back. Mick and Mack, back, 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 back. Whoa. Now to turn them, you just speed one up, slow the other one down. Come haw. To the left is haw, haw, haw around. Slow. And then to the right is G, 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 ho. Back, 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 back. Pretty simple. But notice, unlike the horses you've seen today, what do I not have?
Reins.
I don't have a saddle. No reins. No bit in their mouth. I have no physical connection to these guys. The way I drive them is built solely on respect and building that relationship between the driver, the teamster, and your oxen. There's no physical way for me to stop them.
What
Where
is
a
their
horse,
name?
you have actual contact with.
What are their names?
Mick and Mack. Yep. They're 4 years old.
And
Yep.
how much
They'll
do
live
they
to
weigh?
about 18, 20 years old, this breed.
Oh, good.
Yep.
How much do
As
they
long as
weigh?
I keep their weight off.
How much do they weigh a piece?
They weigh about 1,300 pounds apiece. About 2,500 pounds together is what I estimate. And they can pull their body weight pretty comfortably over long distances. Of course, it all depends on what you're pulling. So if you're pulling logs, that has more drag to it. So that's going to be more difficult for them.
Pulling
Something with
cannon?
wheels is a lot easier.
Pulling cannon over the mountain with knocks?
Pulling, so as I said earlier, that was horses.
Oh, those, really? They
Yeah,
weren't
that was horses. But they certainly did pull cannon all the way up to Quebec. For the last leg of that Knox Noble train, oxen were employed with bringing them into play right around Boston. But most of that trip was horses because all the oxen were already being used. They're actually struggling during the late winter into spring of 1776. They were struggling finding teams of oxen. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take their yoke off here and invite you guys to come on up and meet Mick and Matt while I do a little bit of work. Come on up. Get up. Oh. Y'all are welcome to come up a little closer. Just gonna get their halters on here. Now, really conditioned teams actually can pull twice, 3 times, 4 times, even 5 times their body weight for short runs. It takes a lot of work to get the guys. It's interesting, oxen are really strong. Sometimes it's all in their head though. And they need to be convinced that they can pull the weight. As I do this, you guys are welcome to ask any questions that you might have.
Can multiple teamsters run the same team?
Yes.
Okay.
So you do not have to be the only guy who rides this. Basically, anyone who knows how to do this can then start working with a team.
Okay.
Because the primer's already there. The only thing is, especially with breeds like a Devon that are really smart, if they don't know the driver, they'll test that driver. So the first little bit when you start working with them, you kind of have to prove yourself with them.
Okay.
Once you've established that you're the dominant ox, you have control over it. It's all about, and it's very similar with horses. These are herd animals, and they very much rely on that herd mentality. That's how they function. So as long as you're the head of the herd, you got nothing to worry about.
So do you personally house these all year?
Yep. They live on site all year long. We actually have a big pasture up by the Fort parking, and that pasture is where they spend most of the year. When it gets real cold, I bring them down to this paddock down here, right next to this stable and barn. When it gets real cold, there's a run-in, and on real cold weather, we can bring them indoors. But they would actually be fine, believe it or not, outdoors all year round, especially this breed. They deal with the cold very, very well.
Does the back of the top of the back ever get worn? Does it get worn down from that?
Nope. Not if the yoke fits properly. What I'm going to do here is just pull yoke them back up in a little bit after I've split some rails. You guys can also feel the weight of the yoke yourself.
How do you create the rounded U-shaped part that you can take in and out of the yoke?
Yeah, these are called the bows. Now the bows are hickory usually, and they are steam bent. So this is one straight piece that has been bent around a form. There you go. We'll give these guys even a little bit of hay while we're here. So typically when they're in the yoke, we don't let them eat and we don't pet them. But when the yoke's off, they're not working. So does anyone want to give them a pet?
You bet.